Hey everybody. All right, so we're going to do some training today on some frustrations that I've seen come out of quite a few companies that are still training with us throughout the pandemic. Companies that are and have invested and are either seeing some rapid growth or are struggling to kind of keep their pieces together while we go through this kind of unknown time. So I have heard over and over again a lot of frustration on owners or managers' behalf in the weakness and inadequacies, for lack of a better term, that have been exposed in this time in their teams, in the roles or expectations that we have in our teams, in our coworkers, that have risen to the top. We have pushed people out of their box, and we have seen some things come out of people that report to us that we were either not aware of or have shown us that we have to pay attention to it. That can come from a lack of communication. It can come from a lack of training, a lack of empowerment to act, a myriad of things. However, we want to do our best at this point to address these issues because hopefully we're not going to be stuck in this situation for a long time. But if we don't use the lessons that we've learned that have surfaced in this situation, then we are doing a disservice to what good things have come out of what this time has given us. So one of the first things that I want to talk about is a definition of role. If you go back through some of our training, and I always like to give you an opportunity to go back through some of our YouTube videos if you're looking to accent what you see today, you can go back and look at our identity and role training. We look at roles and how we fill our roles multiple times in a company, in our personal lives, things like that. But in the role that you're asking an employee to fill, how clear do they know what they are supposed to be doing? Do they know that they're supposed to do X, Y, and Z every day? Do they know that they're supposed to be doing ABC every third day? How much do we leave up to their interpretation versus how much do we actually have it spelled out? And to accent that or to supplement that, how much empowerment do we give each employee to act? Some companies, I think, along the micromanagement trail, want to know and they want to make all of the decisions, or they want to have a say in all of the decisions, but that enables our employees to almost have a fear of decision. And when we have a lack of decisiveness, it can have a tendency to cost companies more in the long run because our employees are so busy chasing the answer. They're going round and round and round trying to chase the answer in fear of making the wrong choice or the choice that someone else wouldn't have made. We talk a lot about human inventory here, and that we hire people not just for their body heat and their butt in the seat, but also for their intellect and what they bring to the organization. So are we empowering people to act, or are we just looking for a body count? And have we identified what exactly that is in each role? One of the other things that we focus on a ton in the nature of our business is training. And that doesn't always look to us to do the training, but how knowledgeable is your staff? Have you onboarded people with a certain level of education, and are they meeting the expectations of that education that you hired? Are you investing in ongoing education? As your policies and procedures have changed, everyone's has, no matter what industry you are in right now, everyone has had policy and procedure changes throughout the last 9 months. Are you investing in your people? And to top that off, kind of a little bit more about what we're going to talk about today, are you investing in your managers? Sometimes you are the manager that needs to be invested in, and that goes along the lines of, here, I'm going to educate my staff and then let you go. That only goes so far if, as a manager or an owner or a supplemental employee, a supportive employee, does not have the ability or the support themselves to go in and seek for understanding. We need to be able to go in and make sure that our staff understands what they were just trained on, rather than telling them, well, you should be doing this, this, and this. We have to seek for where the misstep is. We have to identify where the gap is. So what do you see when you look at this situation? Why do you see it like that? I think that depending on what generation you are coming from, or what generation you were in fact educated from, we have a tendency as managers to be more of a rock. And we just want to give information. Information kind of pops off of us, and we aren't willing to sponge information in, absorb it, and turn it back around. This situation that we have all found ourselves in makes us we have a need to be more adaptable. We need to be taking in information about our employees, processing it, and then either adjusting how we turn it around for them, or adjusting maybe what we're expecting of them. How we are communicating with them, where their seat is on the bus, if their seat is on this bus at all. So again, our human inventory right now is a huge question. It is one of our largest line items. And if we are not investing and turning around to understand where they're at, as much as we sometimes cringe away from it, where is our employees' emotional health at? Where is their mental health at? Are they coming to work remotely, and are they actually able to focus on work? Are they taking in the training we're giving them if we've invested in that training? Do they need to be coming in to our office? And that is a whole nother set of challenges. So right there, if we can stand back and say, okay, we have a clear expectation. And if my expectations, if I ask my employee, what do I expect of you? And they give me the exact answer that I was expecting, then we have a clear definition of role. If my employees are empowered to act, so almost to the point where I would be okay that you made a wrong decision as long as you made a decision, rather than take an hour chasing me so that you make the same decision I would. So they are empowered to act. And as a manager, I feel like I ask more questions than I do dictate how I want you to learn something. Then I think those three things lend you to our org chart. And if you can specifically look at your org chart and say, here's our chain of command, and everyone in the company, whether you are a 5-person company or you are a 1,000-person company, can say, yep, this is how we want our chain of command to go. Then we can successfully look at identifying where our actual human inventory stands. If you get stuck at any one of those first three, definition of role, empowerment to act, or training, then looking at your chain of command is premature. If you can get through those three, then clearly define your chain of command, then we start to look at, does your chain of command have a redundancy plan? So when we talk about redundancy, we typically think redundancy for our internet. If our internet goes down today, even more today probably than in the past, it's pretty catastrophic. And a lot of times we work to have a backup. It's a wireless modem, or it's if a backhoe takes out your wire line, you can have a wireless, or our cell phones even back up our wire land if it goes down. We have power generators. If the power goes out, then a lot of companies, a lot of homes, within seconds, certain outlets, your refrigerator, whatever you have in your home or in your business, are immediately powered back on by some kind of generator. But what do we have to back up our employees? We talked about this in the last video that I had released a few days ago. Before February of this year, we talked about who would back you up when you were on vacation. And, everybody says, oh, well, I check my email while I'm on vacation, whatever. And that brought up the work-life balance conversation. Now what happens if you get sick? The health department right now says you're a 10 to 14 day quarantine if you are not sick and need to go to the hospital. What if someone in your family is actually hospitalized and you need to be taking care of the rest of your family, or heaven forbid there actually be a health crisis in your home? This is not a planned vacation where you can, kind of clean up your desk first and, whatnot. You actually have to have a redundancy plan for your team, for them to be able to function, because not only do you need to step away, but the company, whether you're the owner, the manager, the supervisor, whatever it is, needs to be able to step away, deal with their personal part, and then come back without coming back to a hurricane that has happened in the background. So we want to identify where our people are at and understand. I'm going to go through these really fast. And this is some new training we're going to offer in person. We'll come into your organization and help your managers not only identify definition of role, empowerment to act, and the training piece, but then once we go through that gate, we will help you do the chain of command, and then we'll help you assess where you're at. I actually have it written on the board behind me here if you can see it. But where your employees fall in your expectations of them. So it's 5 steps, and they'll either fall into awareness, knowledge, application, ownership, and mastery. So you have to go through each stage in order. And for the majority of people, or the majority of teams, I should say, only about 20% of people are going to fly through this and be that high performing mastery person in a task. 60% of your team is going to fall in this application ownership piece. And then you're going to have that 20% of people who are those low performers. They're just not going to grasp a task, or maybe even the job or the seat that we've put them in. And they're going to have an awareness. They may even have a knowledge of what we're asking them for. However, their ability to actually progress and grow within the team is going to become apparent quickly. So know that not everyone is going to fly through this, and all of their role is not going to fly to mastery. But we are looking for a good chunk of what we're asking them to do to be down here, not deflecting on another employee, not just, kind of CYA and trying to just kind of brush it under the rug, but truly being in that top performer section of their team. That does not necessarily mean they're promotable. That does not necessarily mean that they should be taking on tons of tasks, however, more tasks beyond their role. But it does mean that we can identify them as someone who is in a little bit of a slip seat. And in that chain of command, they can take on a more lateral role, or they know more about the org chart or what your expectations of them are. If we take our human inventory and our employees and we label them in each team where they're at, we can address that with them in their evaluations when we do them. We also have the ability to decide if there's other places or other ways to allow them to excel. If they are in a department that they can't seem to get out of these first two levels, then maybe they're best served somewhere else. Or maybe we just need to ask more questions so that they can apply their knowledge better. For managers who have a team of 5, 6, 7, 10, 20, 100 people, if you don't have them labeled, then it's only going to cause more frustration for you to not understand where they're at and give you a gate as to know when to move them, when to accelerate them, or when it's time to sever them from the company. It's a hard decision. And this is where we need to be able to say, we have other places. If you were to leave the organization today, whether it be because you found other employment, because you got sick, because you went on vacation, who would fill that role? So this is one of the top things. If you're going to take anything and write it down from today, I would say these 5 things would be where would you put your people, and what are you going to do to move them through each gate. So this is not a small task. The bigger your team, the larger the task becomes. However, start with clear definition of role, empowerment to act, and is your training actually working? So we would love to bring this training to you. We are starting to do some in-person training. We are still offering virtual training for companies that are more remote. However, this would be an executive team training to start, and then we can move it through your organization. One of my coaches would be happy to discuss it with you. You can reach out to us on our Facebook page, our Instagram, or our email, and we'll look forward to talking with everyone soon. I hope everybody's staying healthy and well, and I hope you take a little bit of time to breathe life in. Bye, everybody.